Hi, Susan. Let's see here. What's that? Emailed it to Susan. It was not today. Hey, Susan, I think you didn't send me the final bylaw amendment.
I think you're muted.
Am I?
No, I'm talking to Linda.
I'm not officially muted, but that doesn't mean.
Oh, no, you know what? Sorry, I didn't have my earbuds in.
That'll work.
Now I hear you.
I'm asking about the bylaw amendment. You were going to publish it, and I don't know, it's not in any of these things, I think, because they're all too early.
No, I sent it yesterday.
You did?
Yep.
The finalized one.
Yep.
I must have missed it.
Did you get the agenda?
Yeah, I have all, well.
So I said with the resolution on second page, it's on the back of the agenda.
Oh, you sent it to everybody, right? And I ignored you.
Yeah.
Yes, I ignored you, sorry.
Don't ignore me. I figured everybody needed to read it beforehand.
Yes, that's a good idea. I just thought I would, so I need to replace this agenda I've got here, which was on the 17th.
No, it's the same one. Oh, I only sent one and it was yesterday.
Okay.
What I sent today was the vote sheet.
Right. Which, what I don't see is.
Hi.
Hi.
Want me to try and resend it, Linda?
Let me just look at what I've got here. I haven't got it as a separate document. You included it in the agenda?
When I sent it yesterday, I sent, I think, 3 documents, I'm not sure.
You did.
But the second page of the agenda is the resolution.
Okay.
The second page of the executive committee agenda is the resolution.
Yeah, okay.
You found everything now?
I believe so. I'm just waiting for it to come around and open here, which seems to be taking its own sweet time.
Of course.
The computer is got the slows. Okay, we got it.
Okay, good. People are late tonight.
How unusual.
Is there some? Oh, yeah, this is a little unusual, right?
Okay, here we go. Here, let me show you. You can start right at 6:30 to get everyone here. Are you still on? You didn't stop me. It's 90% on.
How are you, Linda?
I'm all right. Who has a dog?
Okay.
I hear a dog barking.
Oh, there's a dog barking outside. Oh, you hear it? Well,
Mhm.
and outside, I'm on the 3rd floor, and the door is outside downstairs. So I guess this is very sensitive. What? I guess this is a very sensitive microphone then, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds like my neighbor's dog.
Oh,
Okay, Alicia's, the Zoom is still installing. She's on Jim's computer. So she and I are going to switch so that she can start the meeting.
Okay.
You should let the headset.
Oh, I'm sorry, here, you take the headset. Okay, thank you very much.
We'll switch.
We'll switch, okay, thank you very much. Hi, everybody,
Hi, Elise.
how's everybody tonight?
Good, how are you?
Oh, wait, whoop, 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 headphones. How's everyone?
Good, how are you?
all right. How are you? How's it at school?
Oh, my gosh, I want to just kill the mayor, but that's not nice, I shouldn't
I
say
think you'll
that.
have a lot of help.
Are we being recorded right now? I shouldn't say that. Those are not nice things to
me-
say. For Community Board 3, September 17th, 2020. I would like to ask for approval of last month's minutes. Can I have roll call?
Yeah,
Michelle, thank you.
yes, I'll set the record straight. I tried to use the link, but it wasn't working on my iPad, so I had to sneak in. So thank you for moving me
Okay,
to
so you know what to do.
panelist.
Yeah, you got in one
I
way. or
tried.
another.
I tried. I was panicking. Okay.
Keep my eye on
Um,
that attendee list.
You want to
If
come back?
anybody else does that.
yeah. Okay, Alicia.
Here, yes, yes, yes.
Michael is not here, right? He's
Okay.
running late. Okay. Lisa.
Yes.
Eric.
He's not here yet.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Cooper Smith, yes. Herman.
Okay, we're switching places. Just give us a second.
Herman is not here yet.
Nope.
Anisha.
Anisha's here.
Anisha, you're on
Anisha's
mute.
Yeah, muted.
Okay, thanks. Gotcha. Mei Lee,
Yes. Here.
Jackie, Jackie,
He just put up his hand.
okay. You weren't on my screen. Thanks. Linda,
Yes.
Alex,
Yeah.
Trevor. Thank you. Paul. Everyone's muted.
What,
Am I
nobody can
gonna-
unmute themselves?
There's all these messages in the chat about people who can't unmute themselves.
They're gonna have a little difficulty being in a meeting if they can't unmute.
Maybe it'll be a quick meeting then.
Try pressing your space bars if you're on your computer. No, not working?
It was
Oh,
for me now.
Bring up your participant list. Yeah.
Check.
It's saying that the host has to let you unmute.
Now it's working.
No, host does not have to let you unmute. I don't think so. Well, I'm just asking people to unmute, and I guess that's working.
Yeah, it is working.
Okay.
All right, well, roll call is good. So, chair's report.
Where's the chair?
There she is.
Susan? We don't seem to have Anisha.
Okay, something is wrong because it says the host is not allowed, won't unmute us, and then you unmute us, and then it goes back to muting.
I don't even have a button that says that I can unmute everybody. The only thing I've got is ask to unmute, which seems to work, but only temporarily, right?
It's just
And
that
you're
you can't mute
And you're
yourself.
the host, correct?
Can you
Yeah.
guys hear me? Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now,
Okay, great. I don't know what in the world. Headphones don't work. I don't know.
Something is very strange.
It's so strange. It's like the office ghost. Okay. So anyway, I want to thank everyone that was able to attend last night's budget priorities meeting of the public hearing for 2022. Especially want to thank Anisha, Linda, and Susan for filling in the gaps last night. Anisha at the drop of a dime took minutes. Linda took the time. And Susan ran the Zoom. So it was really awesome. And even though I had the same kind of technical issues, everything kind of went well. I think so. And we had a great turnout. It was at least 50 something people that were there. Almost 60 people showed up last night to attend the meeting. Couple of agencies, really glad to hear from some of them. Some agencies I had never even known what they did. And it was really great to hear from them. I'm going to be setting up some individual meetings with you guys, with all the board chairs, just to go over where we are, where we need to be, and what direction we're going in. So if you have some available time in the afternoon after 3 o'clock, like after I get off work, I would love to set up a meeting to talk with you. We can either meet in person or we can meet over the phone, or we can set up a Zoom. I don't mind. Whatever you want to do, it's fine with me. I just want to make sure that we're all connecting and we're focused on where we're going to go for the fall season, because we're still in the middle of COVID. We haven't gone anywhere. So I just want to make sure that we're all on like the same page, and whatever you're working on, whatever your committees are working on, I just want to check in, because I noticed that it's been a minute since I checked in with you all. Okay. And that's it for me. I don't have anything else to say. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to the first vice chair's report, which he isn't here yet, right? Michael still isn't here?
It's not coming.
Okay. Second vice chair's report, Lisa?
no, I don't have anything to report, but could you just instruct me when the best time is for me to ask my little question that I sent everybody the information about in an email
Sure, when we get to that particular topic, I will definitely give you the floor.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So now we're going to go on to treasurer's report, which I believe Susan gave us a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't have a report. It's just every few months I distribute. It's a printout from the financial management system. And what it shows, you know, as I had mentioned earlier, about 2 months ago, that they took $4,000 out of our budget. What was very fortunate is that we got 9,000 from the 2 council members. So we have left right now, we have our contracts covered like photocopy and cleaning. And other than that, we have $9,900 left. 9,000 of it is from the council members grant. So anyway, it was just showing everybody. It's nothing really to report.
Did everyone get a copy of it?
Yes, everybody got a copy.
You're muted again.
At your leisure, I hope you all got an opportunity to read it. Thank you so much. Okay. District manager's report.
Okay, thank you. First thing is I got a call from Chuck Schumer's office, and he wants to come speak to our board. This is first, either this Tuesday or next month. So I'm just giving a heads up. If I hear more, I'll make sure and contact Michael also, so he knows. Just want to ask people, as far as your agendas, you know, they're made up, the committee agendas are made up, you know, both with agenda items from city agencies as well as issues that you want on. Please send me, you know, sometimes I'm not thinking about your agenda and that's the last minute. So when you know what, you know, what you want, even if you don't have exact wording or anything, please let me know. One of the things we do is if we need to invite somebody, we always like to have that confirmed by the exec, because you never know when it'll be a problem and you might have to change the agenda. Like, for instance, this month we just heard today from EDC that they're not available for our Parks Committee. So I just try to always do everything ahead of time so we're prepared for that. So thank you for your help on that. There were 2 workshops recently. One was from City Planning on district needs and budget priorities. It was nothing new for anyone that's been doing this for a while, but it was pretty well organized and well presented. I just got the recording and PowerPoint today, so I'm going to send that out to the whole board. No one from our board went to that. The other workshop that people did go to was one put on by the Civic Engagement Commission, and it was on board elections. And it was really unfortunate that they investigated all parliamentary procedure, but not community boards and open meeting. And they gave a lot of incorrect information. And the borough alderman from the borough president's office was on the workshop. So by the time we had our borough service meeting the next morning, Adele Gale's lawyer was very aware of this. She said she was going to send around an email to all the boards correcting the misinformation. Basically, what they were saying is that elections could be secret elections at community boards, which they can't. That was the big issue. And so I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that. And I will talk more during the budget priorities section, but if no one has any questions, that's all I have for now.
Can't hear you, Alicia.
Okay, next we have the nominating committee, Linda Jones.
Okay, let me share this thing. Okay, So here's the issue, which you probably realize, that we cannot hold our election the way we traditionally have done with paper ballots, because we'll be Zooming. So we need a temporary amendment to the bylaws to permit us to use an alternative method. And this amendment does not specify what that method might be. So we're still free to, to play with that. So can you all see it okay?
It's the same thing you emailed out, right?
It's the same thing, yes.
Yes.
You have it in paper, that's great. So it says the proposed temporary modification to section 1.3.b of the Community Board 3 bylaws to enable voting during teleconference board meetings. And it currently is very simple. It says the election of officers shall be conducted by written ballot. We propose a modification. Due to Executive Order number 202.1, which suspends Article 7 of the Public Officers Law to permit any public body to meet and take such actions authorized by the law without permitting in-person access to meetings, and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceedings and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. And to fulfill bylaw requirements that currently require a written ballot, Community Board 3 temporarily modifies section 1.3.b to allow for an alternative election method that can be conducted remotely and will comply with the open meeting law. This modification shall apply so long as Executive Order 202.1 is in effect and it is not possible to hold in-person meetings.
Okay, Linda, so I believe that this is where Lisa sent out our concern to everyone. Lisa?
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now? I couldn't.
Yes.
unmute.
Yes.
It wasn't a concern, it was just a suggestion. I just, just in keeping with the bylaws being brief, I thought we could say the whole thing in one sentence. And I don't have that sentence in front of me because I'm connected on my tablet, but maybe somebody else could. It was an email I sent a little before 5 o'clock. And I think it basically does the same thing. In a sentence, and I think it's also a little clearer because this wording talks about it being temporary, but it doesn't really specify what that temporary is. So my wording was just meant to say, when there is an emergency in effect, such as blah, 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 this, and it refers to let me see if I can, I'll tell you what I said. So it's just, I think, a little bit more economical way to say the same thing. Did everyone receive it? I sent it to
I
the.
got it. Let me see if it came in late.
I got it.
No, I did not get it. So if I had it, I would pop it up, but I don't have
I
it.
just posted to the
maybe
chat. I just posted to the chat.
Okay, take a look at the chat, folks.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. I had the thing that was sent out also has additional language about how the meeting has to be recorded and there has to be an ability for the public to view it.
Right.
But that's not
Which
in
is
Lisa's
also-
thing.
Yes,
Well, that's a general part of that executive order. That's why it's
yeah,
there.
it's just not
Oh.
re-quoting the executive order, but that's what the executive order says.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with the wording of
Well-
the one that Lisa sent out. I mean, it's shorter, a little shorter. I think it's a little more concise, like, instead of going over article, blah, 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 whatever. It was probably a little less confusing for many of the members, including myself.
Somebody
Actually,
read me what Lisa said and I'll put it in here.
It's in the chat.
I
I
can't
can
see
send
the
it.
chat when I'm sharing, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just forwarded
sorry.
it to you, Linda.
Hmm?
I forwarded it to you, Linda, to your email.
I would suggest that we add that comply with open meeting law at the end.
After the word implemented?
Yep.
Okay.
because after a while, nobody will remember what Article 7 really said without looking it up.
Right.
Well, that's why it was put in, so it would stand alone.
But basically what all it does is it allows for remote meetings.
Right.
And it does say that.
Okay.
Do you see any problem with that, Susan?
No, I just those few words at the end.
Just at the end.
That comply with open meeting law.
It should probably say remote voting methods which comply with open meeting law must be implemented, not at the end, but
Okay, that's
in
fine.
between methods and must.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
There. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Lisa.
Sure.
So we have to send this out for 28-day notice to the board. I really don't remember. Lisa, you were the chair of the last bylaw committee.
Yeah.
Does the exec have to vote on this tonight first and then send it out for 28-day notice?
I don't think so, but why don't we just for the heck of it?
Yeah, I would say we do. Yeah. just-
I'd have to go back to the bylaws to double check, but wouldn't hurt to do it. We're all in agreement.
So Michelle, can you take a roll call vote, please? And we
I
have to also state what we're voting on, so.
Wasn't the problem last time that it says something about setting up a task force? So that we had to, now I'm thinking of this through.
The very last time we didn't set up a task force, we just clarified language.
Right, but we determined that the executive committee was acting as the task.
Oh, right,
That's what we did.
right.
So I think we may have to do that again. Maybe we should go back and look at the bylaws to make sure, but, and again, I'm at my tablets, not at my computer, so I guess I could. But I think we have to, yeah, I think
Do we have to meet separately?
No.
Yeah,
Oh, do you? Oh.
Well, let's simply constitute this committee as the task force.
if we can do it all in one swoop, I think we can.
I think
Really,
last time when we
check
had
the bylaws.
the task force, it was like separate time, but like right before.
Right.
It met from 6 to 6:30 or something like that, you know. So it met the same day, same time, but it was distinctly different meeting.
Well, I guess we could adjourn the exec, or we could take the vote at the end.
Didn't we need to give 28 days notice for
No,
that? So we have to do it the next time?
that's for the full board.
Okay.
Where's David when we need him?
So I think you solved it. I think when the meeting ends, we'll call the roll and then we'll have a meeting of the task force which we did not have the agenda and give public notice for. So actually that's a problem.
Yeah, I think that's what the problem is. Do we have time? I mean, we're not going to have this vote until November, right? So I guess we could make the change before the vote. at the
Right.
November full board.
We could have the task force meeting before the exec next month
Yeah.
and then vote on it at the beginning of the November meeting, and then it'll take effect for the November meeting.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to just not take care of it tonight?
Because there's no notice of the meeting of the task force.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So in the notes, should I say that we're creating a task force to, okay. Should I include this proposed change or no?
No, you
No,
don't.
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm looking through the bylaws now. I'm trying to.
So is it the chair created a bylaws task force?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Linda, do you want to start talking about how to vote or no?
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
I had,
Just
I had-
sending you this wording so you can put it in the minutes.
yeah, because I had nominating committee as a separate agenda item.
Yeah, okay, so then the question is, how do we do this? We've given ourselves permission. Susan and I talked about it some. We could do it with a roll call vote. That's the simplest way. As you probably know, votes are public information anyway. The ballots can be requested, and Susan sends them out if they're requested. I don't have a good alternative method, actually.
Well, if we maybe just mention, there are electronic ballots. We have information on them, but they're extremely complicated. Board one used an electronic ballot that they spend hours and hours and hours on. Community Board 8 is having their election the same time we are. They're using a roll call, and those are the only other boards so far.
Yeah, and I was concerned about the electronic ballot. Since people join our meetings, from their phones, they're not going to be able to, I don't even know how you would switch people to the electronic ballot to vote and then to come back to the Zoom meeting again.
Well, there should be no problem with the roll call, right?
I don't think so, unless people just find it embarrassing to have to speak who they're voting for.
Right.
And we would have to have a separate vote for each office, correct? We
Correct.
couldn't do it as one
Well-
slate unless there were no opposition to anybody, correct?
Why
Whenever-
would we need to, we've discussed that, and we're trying to figure out why.
Because if I wanted to vote for one person but not another, how would I do that?
Oh, you would just go down the slate, the way some people say yes to number 5, no to, as for roll call, you would just give each vote. Instead of
So
doing roll,
that, oh, go ahead.
I was just
Could
saying,
we-
instead of doing roll call 4 times, you could do roll call once and have the person give their vote for each office.
Right. Michelle has her hand up.
I'm not sure how others feel, but depending on who's running, I feel like people might want their vote to not be public as it traditionally has.
All votes are public.
Yeah, they're always,
Well, but maybe not like in person calling out. I don't know. People sometimes feel like a little weirdly about that, but like I didn't know they were public, but not that I care about who I vote for, but just people can sometimes be a little weird about that. Is there a possibility of even using just like a Google form or something like that? Could be easier for people to do. You can just choose from a drop down who you want to vote for, and then it gets sent into a spreadsheet. It's really easy to use.
I don't know.
They say the Google form is the least secure because potentially, I mean, you can, you could easily manipulate it later.
Yeah, well, my concern is will everyone on the board be able to do that? Some people do exactly what was said earlier. They call in.
Yeah,
And
that's
on
what
their
worried
cell
me.
phones. We have people that have issues with technicality, with technical, you know, so I just want to make sure that we're doing something that is feasible by everyone can do it, you know? We just got to be careful with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
with,
kind of
without
what-
an opinion one way or another, I think, Linda, I think Google Doc was one of the choices they give.
It was,
Is that-
yes.
Yeah,
It means somebody has to create that Google Doc and test it and make sure it's correct. And then we have to figure out what to do about people who are only calling in on their phone and don't have access to a computer at that point.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Well, I'm not creating the Google Doc, that's for sure. I don't volunteer to do that.
Mhm. It would definitely have to come from your committee. I mean, I would think that that would have to, you know, be the rule. But unless we come up with another idea, I think we have to go with the original plan.
Can I just ask a question? When we say these are public, always been public, in the past, I don't recall that we've said Lisa Kaplan voted for Sam Schwartz.
no, but people request,
That's not, Susan, that's not what we mean by public, Lisa. It's like, it's a public, like anyone could come in and request, I want to count the vote sheets. I want to look at the vote sheets and see how someone voted, and they have the right to do that because it's public.
for instance, Lincoln Anderson foiled all the vote
I
sheets
see.
a couple of years
But
ago.
what I'm saying is this, doing it by roll call would be more public. It's a different
It's-
level of public.
Yes.
And I think that's what Michelle's concern, and I share it.
Well,
I like
come up
the
with an
Google poll
alternative.
idea. What about the Google poll idea, and that we just tell people in advance that it's going to be Google, and if you're going to call in, then you should get to a computer ahead of time. This is the ballot, and we can distribute it in advance,
That's right.
and you fill it in beforehand.
Mhm.
We tell people that in October, and then we send it out, you know, a week ahead. And if they, you know, they'll find a computer in a week.
I just,
There
I don't know
are
about that.
other things that, other than Google Docs, that may be easier to create the ballot in them, that are, you know, maybe they cost a little money to run. So there are alternatives, but
Could we just send out the ballot, ask people to print it, check the box, and email it back to the board office by that night?
I see it. I see your hand, Paul, and I saw your hand, Jackie. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, my fault. I'm talking without being recognized.
Okay. Paul had his hand up, and then Jackie.
Yeah, so we went to that training, the nominating committee. Most of us went to that training a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of these options being brought to us. And I know when we do finally get a consensus time to meet as a nominating committee, we can bring all this information up and figure out what we're going to want to use as the alternative. I know the first hurdle was the bylaw to get that changed. So I know that's the number one hurdle, and then we can actually really figure out what we're going to use as the alternative option while we're on Zoom and all this technology stuff.
Jackie?
I don't have no more question. I just share the same concern as Michelle and Lisa about little embarrassment to do the roll calling.
so if we're going to do something other than the roll call, I need somebody who's got the technical capability to create this Google Doc on my committee. Raise hand. Enter chat box.
I don't see any hands.
Oh,
Lisa's has her hand up.
Lisa?
I'm not offering to do the Google Doc. What I thought I heard Paul say was that it was going to be taken back to the committee and the committee was going to decide what methodology to use. And I think one of the things that they would discuss, that you all would discuss, would be, can somebody create the Google Doc? And I don't think it has to be somebody who's on the committee. I think you could ask somebody to do it. Doesn't have to be the person on the committee, but that may or may not be what you decide, the methodology you would use.
I agree, Lisa. I do agree with you. Yeah. Paul, that was a good suggestion. Does anyone else have input they'd like to give at this time? Okay, May Lee, I see your hand.
So if you really want to do the Google Doc, they say it's the least secure thing because like I said, you have to trust in the committee. They won't manipulate it because it's just a spreadsheet. I could help create it if you want to do that. If you have nobody else on the committee to do it.
Okay, well.
Shouldn't nominating meet again so they can decide if
I'll
this is
call
what they
meeting
want to do?
Yeah, we have not met yet because it wasn't quite time. So we will meet and we will talk about this and get back to the board.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, if that's the last question or input that anyone would like to give, we're going to move on. Okay, we're going to go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the budget priorities.
Okay, so I wanted to briefly go over the process because we have some.
I'm sorry, Susan. Lisa Kaplan, you had your hand up. Lisa?
I think she already spoke.
No.
Oh, the mute thing is going on again. I got to find out something with the way this meeting was set up. It causes this, and I don't know. I didn't set it up, so I have to find out.
Lisa?
Yes, now I can unmute. I
You
could
may
not.
speak.
Oh,
I just wanted to make sure that we were leaving the committee with the nominating committee with the understanding that they would try to find a methodology other than voice vote, roll call vote. That seemed to be the consensus of the exec. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Susan, sorry.
sure. To just first briefly go over the process for the budget priorities. Each committee will vote on their budget priorities for that committee under their jurisdiction for the agencies that they cover. And they will rank the budget priorities from most important to least. And then all of the committee priorities will be collated together, but the rankings from within each committee is never changed. And the way we've always done it in the past is the office collects all the ranked priorities, and we make a straw poll list based on the way they were ranked the previous year. And then that is brought to the exec, and then the exec goes through them and makes any changes that they think are necessary. And then that list will be voted on by the full board. What we'd like to do is generally the office worked with the chairs to put together a list to present to the committees. And Jim and I would like to speak to, have a conference call with each chair before your meetings to ask you how you want to handle it and how you want us to help you. And that's basically it for the process. If there's no questions, I think a lot of people are still having are more trouble this year than last year, at least in the public, and understanding what priorities are. And I thought it might be helpful if I sent last year's priorities out to the whole board and say, just say this is what we did last year. just to give you an example of how it's done. One of the things, just sort of an alert, is last night a lot of people, for some reason, organized to have Charis a budget priority. And we knew this was happening, and Alicia tried to explain at the beginning that it was a privately owned building. You know, this is not on an agency budget. And Greenwich Village, Harry Bubbins representing Greenwich Village, said to everybody, I looked at it and it was on there last year. I don't know why he said that. I've sent him last year's since then twice and asked him maybe he was looking at the district needs, because it's definitely in there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is just to alert the chairs that it would be really helpful, I think, if it comes up, if you help explain to the public or whoever brings this up, sometimes it's members also, who kind of insist that there are programs that don't exist. That is it'd be wasting a priority, because what happens if you vote on something, and another thing people can look at is the answers from last year. If you vote on something that's not an agency budget program, well, you will get an answer saying, you know, that's not, you know, we don't fund that. That happens occasionally with city council discretionary funds, where we're not aware that a program is funded by city council, and that'll be the answer that we get back. So I just want to give that a heads up. It's something that could come up at committees, and, you know, we'll deal with it then if we have to. I think I'll go to the district needs, but are there any questions or issues on the budget priorities first? Okay. District needs, I think everything is complete except economic development and human services. So we're putting those together. We're working on introduction so that we can send it to the exec before the next exec committee. And that's kind of it.
And no questions from anyone? Any comments? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Susan. We're going to move into our committee reports. SLA.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Alex. Transportation, public safety and environment.
Right, there we go. Nothing to report. We just had the DOT and FDNY come in for updates, and I think they'll come back in November to answer some of our questions that we had, but no resolutions were passed or anything like that.
Thank you, Paul. Economic development, Anisha.
We met and we did have one resolution, which was about returning application fees for applicants who've applied for sidewalk cafe licenses. And it was discussed at the committee and it was passed. Besides that, we just worked on district aids and sort of the usual things.
You said for sidewalk?
So before the pandemic, folks that had applied for sidewalk cafe licenses, which now it has evolved where open streets is the method for which sidewalk or restaurants are, or other businesses are using outdoor space. And the Department of Consumer Affairs is still holding on to the fees that were associated with the applications for the licenses. And the request is really to have those application fees returned because small businesses are in a crunch right now and could use the, you know, between hundreds and thousands of dollars that are sort of tied up in those fees.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you for explaining that. Health and Human Services.
Hi, so at the last meeting, we, like everyone else, we just talked about our district needs statement, and it's, you know, kind of getting pretty much finalized. I just wanted to talk about our October meeting. So like everyone else, we also will be, you know, doing the budget priorities and district needs and voting on it. But in addition to that, we will have another agenda item, which is the Alliance for Positive Change. Most of you know it probably as the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center. You know, it's been in our, in our area for a very long time on Allen Street. So they have moved, to East Broadway, between Market and Chatham. It's near Chatham, 35 East Broadway. So it's a couple of doors down from the Chatham Square Library. They, found the place last year. Their building, I think, is being sold, and they had to move. So, they looked around and found this place on East Broadway. Last year and this year, they came to our board twice to get approval for this new place. Once they were applying for a grant to, I guess, build it out more. And then the second time, so that the build out thing was that was like last fall, I think. And then this year, I think right before the shutdown, they came to us again. They were still, working on it, but they also, a part of their program is those needle return boxes, where people can return needles. They can drop it off, or else, I guess, if they're not there, they can drop it off in this box. So often, you may have seen some of these boxes in the park, like Tompkins Square, for example. So they've always had one outside the door on Allen Street. So they also want to locate it there too, to provide the same services to their clients. So I guess, so they wanted us to approve of a place, but, we saw that it was near the needle box would be kind of near the library, and we weren't sure. So then we never voted on that, because they were going to go back and think about where this needle box would possibly be. So that's where we left it. And after that, it was a shutdown, and, we never talked to each other again much. So they officially have opened their new office on last week. It was around September 8th. So now we will have them come again to our meeting to present about it. And part of the reason why is because one of the Chinatown organizations, the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association, I guess, got all alarmed about it. And I think there was some misinformation as well, but, it was one of these things, this, they called it a naloxone center, is going to bring in all these people who will be a danger to the children at the library when it reopens. And, and I've heard stuff like, people are going to be lying in the streets, and, so we're having this meeting where, the Harm Reduction Center will come and give a presentation. And for those who missed the last two meetings, they'll definitely be able to come and hear and ask questions. So I think it's a little complicated with what's going on in Chinatown. Well, first of all, what they don't get, what the Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center or the Alliance for Positive Change doesn't get, is even though they've moved a few blocks away, not too far away, they've sort of moved into a different world. That's the way it is in CB3, right? Sometimes you move a few blocks away and you end up in a different world. So part of it is that. Part of it in Chinatown, I think there is a bit of this NIMBYism. And then, but also the other thing that the Harm Reduction Center, they provide, really excellent, these substance abuse services, but they're not the services, not the type of substance abuse services that Chinatown residents would need. So no one will say that, there is no substance abuse in Chinatown, but it's not the services that they provide. So it's a little hard to argue that they even provide those services for Chinatown. So as you see, it's just very complicated. So, but we are having this meeting in October. And I believe it's going to be an ongoing thing. I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, I don't even know what motivates CCBA to do this, but that's what it is. So I just wanted, and me and Alicia, we're going to talk about it a little bit too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. If anyone has any comments or questions or advice, please feel free.
No hands? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. We're going to go on to the next committee. Land use?
We met this month. We didn't have any result, but we had an information session on 70 Marbury Street, and there are two major public opinions. So they want DCAS to provide the details of the engagement process, such as the time frame and the number of meetings they're going to provide, and also the public want DCAS to move forward with the preservation assessments immediately. So after the land use meeting, I contacted DCAS for their response, and DCAS agrees that they will publicize the engagement details once they are finalized. See, the thing is that they just recently contract a consultant to do the engagement plan, but a lot of details has not been ironed out. So they are saying once they have all the details, they agree to publicize them, so the public will know. But on the preservation assessment, the preservation analysis, they are saying that they want to wait until the outcome of the engagement comes out. So I'm going to follow up with maybe Gail's office to see what else we can do. And that's for the land use meeting. And also I want to talk a little bit about NYCHA subcommittee as well, because we are planning to reactivate NYCHA subcommittee in October. And I have submitted the agenda to Susan, as you can see in the documents that she sent out. And I think NYCHA subcommittee, we still have to spend some time to work on it to see what else we can do to make sure the October meeting is smooth and productive. And that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. I agree. Okay. Any questions for Jackie, anyone? Sandra? Are we taking questions from other board members? No. Sandra, I see your hand, but I think you're gonna have to have a conversation with Jackie and myself if you have a question for him, okay? I can't see you, but I want you to just know that I do see your name in your hand, okay? All right, so we're gonna go on to the next committee, landmarks.
We did not meet.
Okay, thank you. Parks. Come on, Trevor.
Here we go. I'm unmuted, so I done. No resolutions, but a lot of issues, as always with parks. Mainly that there's a lot going on with our waterfront, and it's taking quite a bit of time to the point where some are asking for 2 meetings and some people don't want 2 meetings. But when you have 2 major flood resiliency projects going on at the same time, a lot of them have a lot of, they both have a lot of detail and a lot of issues. It's just difficult to manage. And you add the other issues that we've managed to push for months that people want to talk about, and we're really running into long meetings and a lot of issues. I'll go over a couple of them, or one main one, and that is the Lower East Side Ecology Center's request for relocation. I think there was a big committee and from board members, which caused an issue because folks were like, we keep moving the Ecology Center every month, and we have not. We actually voted on a resolution in June to approve that resolution, but somehow people forgot about that. What they're seeking to do, and this is the other issue, is they're asking for relocation to Pier 42. They're calling it a parking lot, but it's part of Pier 42, a park that the entire community has fought for. You know, it was given to us by the city and turned into a park. And I really don't think people understand that you can't just say we're going to move one particular facility to another area without really doing extensive community outreach. It's the same thing if it's as if someone were to say, let's move the ecology or the compost yard to Seward Park or Corliss Hook or to a community garden without doing any outreach. So I think it's difficult. I think it's going to be interesting next month. And I appreciate the offices, Susan and Jim, getting me the resolutions for Pier 42 to show folks that this is a park. It's not just we're not moving it. The temporary location would not go to a parking lot. It would require us to change the plans. It would have to go back to the federal level because it does have federal funding, and require months and months of outreach. That appears to be the sticking point, and I've informed the Ecology Center about that particular issue, but it doesn't seem like it's working. Those are the main issues. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I see Lisa Kaplan has her hand up.
Sure.
Go ahead, Lisa, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I don't agree exactly with Trevor that was the intent of the discussion. It was mentioned with regard to the Ecology Center, but I know what I wanted to see happen, and I think I can speak for at least one other member of the board that suggested a resolution at that meeting, was that we were looking for a resolution that talked about the permanent return of the Ecology Center to East River Park, which is not in the plans at this point, and that there be a temporary that they be temporarily relocated somewhere in the neighborhood. I completely understand the complications of Pier 42 as a permanent location, but I'm not at all sure that that's what was being presented. And I think that there's a misunderstanding about the intent of the reso. I guess that's also, it wasn't just the Parks Committee, it also, a similar thing happened in the Land Use Committee on a different subject about just clarity about when a resolution can be suggested when there's when there's an update listed on the agenda. So I would like a discussion of that, but I really disagree that the only issue that the Lower East Side Ecology Center is concerned about is Pier 42. I think they're concerned about their permanent home in East River Park and a temporary relocation more accessible to the neighborhood than 124th Street.
One of the things we were trying to do was get clarity, because no one even knew that they were in or talking about a contract to move it uptown. And no one knew about the existing relationship or whether they had signed a contract to move the umbrella age group to Seward Park. So the first thing we were trying to do is get clarity so that everyone can understand exactly what was going on, because we did not have that discussion. On our agenda, and this was the same thing in land use, we set an update because we needed for everyone to understand exactly what was going on. The two resolutions that were sent included language that said relocation to Pier 42. Those were the two resolutions sent, and as a matter of fact, the same resolution was sent for discussion for October. The agenda item will now read for October that we're going to discuss the temporary relocation, but we did not say Pier 42. In regards to returning to East River Park, we wrote that resolution in June, which stated that we wanted them to return back to East River Park.
Lisa?
Okay. I didn't want to respond if I wasn't recognized.
Jackie?
Yeah, I agreed that we did in June, but I think that the intent was to have that reiterated, because at this point we've seen designs of the park that do not include it, so that it's at a different level of urgency, and I think we have to up our ante there. And the first version of the resolution that was suggested did have Pier 42. The second version did not mention Pier 42.
It called it a parking lot, which is Pier 42.
No, my understanding was that my communication with Kay and my understanding was that when she revised it, she made it broader than that. I think she said something like explore Pier 42 parking lot. There's no confusion, at least on there might be with some people, but not with me, that the parking lot is part of Pier 42. I'm not confused about that.
In any case, we're going to discuss it at the October. It is an agenda item for October in Parks and Resolution. So we can have a full discussion and write a resolution and restate our position that we wanted to return to East River Park.
Okay, Jackie has his hand up.
Yeah, so in terms of when we can propose a resol, I just feel like if we are doing this as an update, if we made it clear this is an update information session, my experience from the past is that we don't normally pass a resol based on if we already said that this is an information session unless it's different. So I just have that kind of understanding. And also, if someone is going to introduce a session, I think it also needs the support from most of the committee members. And that's what I understand about when to propose a resol.
Okay. Whose hand is up?
Susan's.
Susan, okay. Go ahead, Susan.
Just on procedure on the agenda, we try, if there's going to be a resolution, we try to be very clear that there will be a vote and what it will be specifically on. And this is something that's in the last few years have come up a number of times in the exec. That's why we sometimes very specifically put informational, which means no vote. Update is a little bit more between, but we just try and be very, very clear if we're going to be taking a position on something.
Okay. All righty. So thank you. Any other questions for Trevor? Any comments for Trevor?
I have a comment.
Okay. Lisa has a hand up. Go ahead, Trevor.
I would like for Parks Waterfront to move up in the committee reports for 1 month.
I will move you up. I will make sure that I make that happen next time.
Thank you.
So noted, Trevor, so noted. Lisa, go ahead, Lisa.
She's muted.
Lisa.
We see her plants.
Yeah, Lisa.
I can't until you ask me. I can't unmute myself. I am unmuted now. I still am not clear with what is the wording that is necessary for there to allow for a resolution, and what. I guess I want to know what specifically has to be in an agenda to allow it to have a vote. Update your, you said is not clear. So is it a yes or is it a no? Who determines that and
Well, I'm just going to say from my end, if someone tells me that we're going to be voting on something, we very clearly put that on. You know, it's what I put on the agenda depends on, you know, what information I'm given. And so I don't, that's about all I can say. But if I'm told, you know, that we're going to have a resolution, we try to be very clear on saying what that resolution is.
How do the members of the committee know? I mean, it really has to be something, there has to be a clarity on this. You know, that in 2 committees I attended this month, certain members asked for something and they were told you can't do it. And then there was no discussion from various members about, yes, we really want to. They were just told, you can't. So
If you're referring to my committee, that's a misrepresentation. I didn't say you can't. I said at the chair's discretion, we're going to discuss it next month. I felt that this agenda item required more information. I never said you
Okay.
can't. And it
You're
was
right.
also 10:40 at night, so
It
I didn't feel like
worked.
it.
Okay, point well taken. At the land use, we were told no.
No, I didn't say no. I was just saying that
No,
I
Linda
want.
did. You didn't.
No.
Linda did.
Right. I said I
I'm not
prefer
blaming
to.
anybody.
Okay.
I'm just.
I mean, just for.
It is
I
my
think for.
understanding,
Right.
based on what Susan has said in the past, that
Yeah.
we're not clear that we were going to.
And I think for clarity reason, maybe in the future, we want to make it very clear what is the right wording to say that this is a information session and the vote is feasible. Like, I mean, since we are talking about this today, so maybe we can clarify it for future. Like, what is
I really
the word?
think it needs to be clarified so
Right.
people know in advance. And it's too murky at this point, is all I'm trying to say. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not pointing a finger at any committee chair. I'm just trying to say, I think this needs clarity.
So Lisa, in this case, it was really unclear, right? That we were discussing something that was going to result in a resolution. So I agree with you. We need to make it clear. And it's not always, you don't always have a resolution, even if the possibility exists, right?
Right.
Sure. All right, Trevor. Okay, I see two hands and Trevor had a request. So I do agree with Trevor. We should definitely put it on the agenda for exec next month. And why don't we just add that to the agenda, Susan, for next month?
Okay, so what exactly are we adding to the agenda?
This discussion about
The wording for when we
wording.
intend to vote and when we don't.
Yeah.
The wording, agenda item wording that provides for vote?
Yes.
I mean, we're doing something like a ULURP, it's real clear, right?
Well,
Otherwise, it's not necessarily clear.
If I could just say the two ends of clarity, we've agreed that if it says information, that there is not a vote. When someone requests a vote, we always put support for. So those are the two ends where we know we're going to do something or we're not going to do something.
Okay, May had her hand up as well. May?
Well, my understanding was that if it says for informational purposes only, there won't be a vote, because that's only what it's for. But potentially, you could vote on anything, you know. What you vote on and whether you do it is another thing. But, you know, in theory, I thought that, you know, there is no way to, you know, so there's only one, I know of a way where you can say you're definitely not voting, and it's for information purposes only. And maybe it's on a larger issue that you're going to vote on later, and you know that the information being presented at the meeting is not enough. So that's one reason why you do it. But I knew, so that was my only comment. But since we are talking about this next month, that's all I'll say for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, May. Any other comments before we move forward? Okay, so Michelle, did you get that? Did you capture that? We're going to bring this discussion back next month. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about task force subcommittees. So NYCHN Section 8 subcommittee is on the calendar. If you all looked over your calendar, we put it on there. Jackie and I will be chairing that meeting until we make a decision as to what we're going to do. So we're going to do a collaboration, Jackie and I. Yay. And Arts and Cultural Subcommittee, anything happened there? Anyone? Anisha?
This is Anisha. I don't think Carolyn is on.
Okay.
But the district needs for that subcommittee is not final. For economic development, we did finalize ours.
Okay.
But Arts and Culture is still working on theirs, and hopefully it will be ready.
I didn't see that they have a committee. Yes, they do. October 14th. Okay.
Yeah, they do. And they're presenting at Economic Development.
Okay, great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that information. Chinatown Neighborhood Planning Subcommittee, nothing.
Could I ask, for scheduling purposes, I've heard for the subcommittees that they're going to meet every month, every other month, and every 2 months. Could we figure out so that we have some idea for scheduling? And if they're both not meeting every month, it would be good to have one month and one the other. I'm not asking for an answer now, but maybe that's something the subcommittees can think about.
Are you speaking in reference to all of the subcommittees?
The 2 subcommittees.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what Jackie and I plan on discussing with the subcommittee when we meet with them.
Well, but it would be good to coordinate, if it's not every month, to coordinate with Arts and Culture.
Definitely, but we will definitely be in discussion about that, Susan. Thank you so much. Okay, any old business? No. New business. I just want to say, oh, Michelle, go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. I have 2 things that I'm not sure that we really need to discuss right now, but just maybe will come up next month. One is that, as everyone I'm sure knows, indoor dining is coming back to New York September 30th. And I've been reading about how the regulations in New York are subpar to what are in New Jersey, where people are required to put their masks on when they're not eating or when servers or staff comes over to their table. And that seems like, I don't know, maybe an intersection of public safety and health and human services or something like that. Maybe just health and human services. Maybe it's SLA also. I'm not sure, but it seems like a cross-cutting issue. If we wanted to pass some sort of resolution suggesting that the city council implement stricter regulations, I've been eating out a lot, and I see people just being wildly disrespectful about how they interact with staff, and I can only imagine it'll be worse. I don't understand why we're not trying to protect the workers. And I bring this up because our district is so saturated with eating establishments. So perhaps we could be leaders on this if we wanted to be. And then the other one is that, as I'm sure you all know, I've been a zealot about the NYPD blocking off their streets. And I walked around the district looking at the 5th, 7th, and 9th. And it seems like, I mean, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, I know you live on the same block as the 9th, but that the 9th and the 7th have really drawn back, but the 5th has almost in some ways barricaded themselves in more on Elizabeth Street. I'm not sure if anyone has been down there recently. And they're doing the like angled parking up against the buildings. In fact, in front of like a medical building, I saw an older woman struggling to get inside because the car was so close to the door. And I know CB6 recently passed a resolution asking them to take it down. Gail is doing a lot around that. So I hope that there might be some support to pass a similar resolution as CB6 if the NYPD doesn't draw back shortly. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other new business for anyone? Okay, I want to congratulate Eric. He's been a parent for 1 whole year.
Oh.
Baby turned 1 year old. Congratulations, Eric. I know you're so shout out to Eric. And I want to thank you all again. I would like to have a roll call. Or do we have to have? No, we don't need a roll call for voting out.
Yes, you do.
Okay, roll call for voting out, Michelle.
I shouldn't have muted myself. Okay. Alicia.
Yes.
Michael. Not here. Lisa.
Yes.
Eric. Is Eric not on? Oh, yeah. Eric, there you are. Thank you. Michelle, yes. Herman. Herman is not on. Anisha.
Yes.
Thank you. May.
Oh, yes.
Jackie.
Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
Yes.
Alex. Trevor.
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. I'll see you all next week at full board.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Good night.